Amigos de Latin America Meetings TV, buenos días, ya es viernes, estamos ya casi hacia el fin de semana y al fin de mes, obviamente de agosto, con muchas noticias, con muchos colaboradores y en este caso también con una entrevista de primer nivel. Vamos a estar con el Event Industry Council y la CEO, Amy Calvert, quien nos estará platicando pues un poquito de lo que está haciendo el Event Industry Council. Acaban de anunciar ya la oportunidad de nominar para los awards que tienen, los Global Awards. Así que, bueno, vienen muchas noticias del Event Industry Council. Amy, thank you very much for your time, for being here with us. And, well, it's a pleasure to have you with us in this conversation, the Event Industry Council. And you as a CEO, well, it's an honor to have you here. So we were talking about all the great news. We just recently saw that the nominations for the Global Awards are coming. So I think everybody will work hard on that. And great news is that you opened 2 new Global Awards. So can you talk about a little bit of that?
Sure. So, well, first, thank you for having me. And it's an honor to spend time with you, Rafael, and to be a part of your community, even if it is over Zoom, which I know most of us are feeling as if we would all welcome a bit of a pause there. But I'm really happy to spend time with you and excited for this conversation. So EIC, one of the main areas of focus for us as an organization is to really support a global awards and recognition program. And we've done that over the years through our Hall of Leaders Award and the subsequent ceremony that we have every year. And a new award that was introduced back in, I think, 2012 for the pace setters. And this year, you know, obviously we're living in extraordinary times and there's so many really generous conversations happening right now about, you know, as an industry, you know, how we can all offer our leadership during times such as this. And of course, you know, this ongoing and long overdue conversation about social justice and how we as an industry can help turn a vision for, you know, a much better society through what we do. So we felt it was really important to take a step back and reflect a bit on the awards this year. You know, it was important to still go ahead and have a Hall of Leaders recognition award and program, but we felt it would be a missed opportunity if we didn't call out, you know, those 2 categories. And then, you know, we also really felt like it would be a good time to introduce 2 new awards that really spoke to those very things. You know, for an organization and an industry that's going to live our values, it's really important that we take the time to honor individuals and or organizations, you know, in those 2 areas. I think that we recently relaunched our Center for Sustainability, our Center for Sustainable Events, transformed it to the Center for Sustainability and Social Impact. So the timing was really perfect to, you know, introduce these 2 new awards. And, you know, historically, we've always done an award with IMEX on sustainability. So we feel like we're in a really good, you know, we're moving in a really good direction in terms of recognizing, as I said, both individuals or organizations for the great work that they're doing in that space. I think, you know, one of the things that we're always talking about, you know, and within our leadership and with our stakeholders is, you know, we've been given a bit of a moment here to really take a step back and think about how do we come out of this situation much stronger and much more committed to, you know, the roadmap to a much more sustainable and socially equitable society.
Okay, that's great. We understand that these new global awards are focused on the social impact award that talks about inclusion, diversity, and also the other one is focused on the adaptation and innovation, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So, well, that's great news for everybody, and we hope that these are 2 new great categories for everybody, and I think the themes are really accurate for these times.
I think so.
So congratulations.
Yeah, no, we're excited, and I think it's really going to be inspiring to see the nominations come in, you know, whether it's an individual that's being, you know, nominated or an organization. We have a bit of flexibility really to take all of the nominations that have come in and curate a really great message out to the industry. And a moment to recognize all that really important work and that thought leadership, but also recognition that now more than ever we need to really rethink how important that leadership is.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
And as a CEO, we understand that the Event Industry Council represents many other associations. So as we call here in Mexico, is the top of the top. At these times, how is the Event Industry Council working with all the associations and with all the members with the event industry to be more proactive? We understand the crisis in our industry, in the tourism and in the event industry is really hard. But I think everywhere, in any place, we're working hard to recover, to start working, to gain again the trust of everybody. And also, I think, convincing the governments, because the governments are looking us as we are huge gatherings that we have no order or control. So I think that's really important. Is something around this on the hands of the Event Industry Council that are working on?
Yeah, that's great question. And, I think we are truly the industry's global federation. And again, I think, we as an organization went through a visioning exercise in the fall of 2019 and really talked about it more at our spring board meeting. And, I think it's been not only a unifying moment for our members, which has been fantastic. I think everybody is really coming together in the spirit of collaboration and unifying around, the 26 million global professionals that make up our events industry, to really find ways to help solve and support in the short term, and then think again long term about what are the adaptations and the resources we need to think about what our future looks like and how we align to ensure that we come out of this again, like I said, stronger than we left it. But I think we're also we're looking beyond our members, and we're not excluding those people that might not be a member of the Events Industry Council in the conversations that we're trying to have around, how do we do just that? How do we make sure that, we are getting behind all the relief efforts that are happening across the globe to ensure that the workforce is as best supported as they can be during this time, and to think about, what are the learnings for us as an industry, and how do we harness the power and the passion of all these individual organizations to address what really is a pan-industry issue. If you think about advocacy and you think about awareness and you think about the underpinnings of research and data that's needed to help inform individuals that can impact policy, we need to be together and united and aligned about that, and leveraging the scope and scale of what our individual organizations represent. So, we've been meeting as a board and a council. We have task force groups that within our leadership that's really their purpose is to look at, long term, how do we better prepare for the crisis that's on the horizon, right? And then, how do we, through our various efforts, whether it's, commissioning a new economic significance study to help better inform advocacy and making sure that's widely and globally known, understood, and leveraged, that we do that. We also appointed an Apex, the Apex Commission, which is something that's been under the EIC umbrella for some time, but it's really a place where subject matter experts, people that are passionate about a particular topic, can come together and to provide a resource for the industry. We put together a task force to look at business recovery coming out of COVID-19. And there are about 40 individuals that have worked on this task force. And the mission of this group is to really look at aggregating and curating accepted practices and protocols and then sharing them out as a resource. And, the EIC is really the perfect place because, we're all overwhelmed day to day, just trying to, deal with what's on our plate. It's almost impossible to navigate the resources that are out there, individually. I mean, whether you're, a hotel company or a transportation company or a service provider, everyone is doing fantastic work, including all of our members, creating resources. The job of this group was to say, okay, how do we pull this all together in a really meaningful way and then create context so that people know, how to apply certain resources and concepts. And our first release was a meeting and event design guide. And it was really well done. It focused on this notion of our individual responsibility as meeting participants and professionals in our own wellness journey and assessment of risks. So we had a code of conduct. It looked at how to analyze and assess risk as an individual, how to raise that conversation internally within your organization. So long story short, I think it's just important, again, as the Global Federation for the Events Industry, that we continue to support these efforts. The Apex Group is going to be offering a series of resources. Meeting and events design was first. We have one coming out next week on accommodations and venues. And in there, you'll see principles for recovery. You'll see conversations that help build trust, a conversation guide. And I think really that's such an important element. And some of the early thinking that this task force did was, within seconds, the pandemic really had an impact on our ability to trust that we could attend meetings and be safe, right? So the first part of this endeavor is to start to try to find ways to rebuild trust, right? So, we have a lot of good work that's being done. We're going to be releasing a guide and a resource around wellness and workforce. And, by the end of the year, we'll have maybe, 6 or 7 really useful tools in addition to all the aggregated information available on the EIC website. We're going to be launching a career microsite for the profession. I think that'll be really timely and useful. So, again, we don't really have a roadmap of how to respond, to times such as this, but we are an industry that has been for many, many years evolving and learning in the areas of safety and security, committed to duty of care, ensuring the well-being of our participants. So, we are just trying to think of new ways, again, to focus on advocacy and making sure we're understood, ensuring that we have the relief and the support that we need in the short term, and that people understand, we're willing to voluntarily comply with all of these protocols, and we have to begin somewhere in order to ensure that, once grounded in science, we have the resources and a vaccine, we can successfully start to rebuild, the events ecosystem.
Wow, great! So a lot of work that you have been doing, and I think, well, we have read all those resources that are really great for all the event organizers, and I think they were great. We, as an event, we use part of that guide to include in our next week event. So I think those resources and all the coming resources that you will have. So that's why, to all the people that are looking this interview, that's why the Event Industry Council is the Event Industry Council. So you can see all the great work that they are doing for everybody, for the industry. And I think that's great. So just to close this great interview, I want to ask you, as Amy Calvert, can you give us 2 advices? One, as a professional, as the CEO of the Event Industry Council, and the other one as a person, as a personal advice that you can give us to everybody on these kind of times.
So as a professional, I would say that, someone having grown up in this industry and has always been just really inspired by, the mentors that I've had, and a lot of those relationships have been developed through my engagement with different industry organizations and networks. I would say, as a professional, it's important to find ways to stay connected in times such as these. And, we all have abilities now to sort of lead from where we are. And it's oftentimes difficult to think about finding time for that. But in times such as this, it's always good, I think, as a professional, to think about what could I be learning from this as it relates to who I am and what really inspires me, and what I can bring to this endeavor that I might be involved with at this time, and not to lose sight of the importance of mentoring, peer-to-peer networking, and so on and so forth. And so I would just encourage everyone to reach out and think about ways that they can get involved. And, oftentimes, from a more personal note, I would say that, we're all on a journey learning about ourselves and learning about our ability to manage and lead through crisis. And I think it's important to be comfortable with the fact and to be able to be really honest and authentic about this notion that we might not have all the answers right now, but let's not be afraid to ask generous questions about that which we need to be thinking about and doing to help meet people where they are right now, you know. And I would just say that that's really important, and that's really a lesson in leading with your heart and your mind, you know. And I think it's so important now to be able to use that as a working principle to help, you know, restore your energy when you think about you know, how tough these times are. You know, we're all so much wanting to help people that are really being so devastated and so impacted by all of this. But I think it starts by just making yourself available and being able to just connect with somebody. And each little effort in that regard, I think, makes a huge difference.
Okay. So, Amy, thank you very much for your time, for being here with us. Great conversation. It's impressive, all the things that the Event Industry Council is doing for all the industry. So thank you very much for this time, and we will see you again on Latin American Meetings TV.
Thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful to spend some time with you, Rafael. Thank you again.